Good day. Today's on the right, the Book Inside You show, we're talking about accountability. Hello, Mary Jane.
Hi, Carol. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm holding myself accountable that every week we post a video in the Writing the Book Inside You group. And today was not possible to live stream. We can blame it on Mercury in retrograde, but we're doing the video and I'll post it later. So shall we carry on? You know, what's the one thing that you would say about your life or about writing your book that accountability means to you?
Well, in a nutshell, it makes me do it. I do the stuff. I don't procrastinate. I just crack on. It's like when you're at school and you've got a deadline for your homework, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, you get it done.
So in terms of you being part of the group, because we'll go back to about what it means to be the 5 steps. The one is be accountable to yourself, but the other one is being in a place where others are holding you accountable. So what have you found working with me in the Book Inside You program about accountability?
Really powerful. So that regular meeting. And there's always that kind of pressure, they've done that, I must do this. And because we had our private group, so you had an idea where other people were up to, but also it's a place for support, isn't it? So if you were struggling or getting blocked or finding that you didn't quite know the next step, that was not just from you, which was great, but also from your colleagues. And that whole kind of group thing, I mean, I'm big on community. That's kind of one of my things. I love group work. And so I think that the power of having people around you who have different ideas or can support you when you're feeling a bit stuck, a bit blocked, you're not sure where to go next, you can't quantify the value of that.
Exactly. What I noticed is if someone showed up and they were a bit despondent because they hadn't really made much traction, it's not that everyone said they're there. It's just that by listening to the energy in the group of those who'd had a breakthrough, and that sparks you to go forward. So we agree that that's been one of the great things. And actually, in anything you're doing, whether you're starting a podcast or writing a book or showing up, by committing to do something every week, I think there's a lot of value in that. And there were times when sometimes when I'm running a Book Inside You program, and I realize that people will actually need another week to really get their work done. But I don't always say that at the end. I wait about a few days and I say, look, you know what? I know you've started working towards this coming week, but I want to give you another week. And I heard it so many sighs of relief saying, and then they would then get on and do it for the following week. So that's, so when it comes to being accountable to yourself, writers lead quite a lonely kind of existence. Well, I do anyway. We talked last week about the bum on the seat, bum glue on the seat, going into your cave and just doing it. So there is that to be said about getting your book written. And I think I'd like to talk about not only connecting every day with your why on your writer's journey, but also with your values. And funnily enough, this was something that became important when I was teaching women about online dating and what to put on their profile. I realized that until you get your values, you're not looking for someone who's handsome or tall or whatever. You're actually looking for certain values. And so I have an exercise actually on my top values, and there are quite a few on the internet where you can, you can choose different values and come up with your top 3. I'll share what mine are. I don't know what yours are. Mine is freedom, making a difference, and well-being / happiness. I don't know if you want to say any of your values.
Probably similar, but definitely community would come into there.
Yes, you've got a value of community.
So community autonomy is big for me as well. Although I like community, I like to make my own decisions. And definitely making a difference.
So when you're asking yourself, how can I be accountable to finish my book? Well, if you've got a commitment of my one of making a difference, which I'm sure a lot of people have as a value who want to join the group that I run, because it's for coaches and healers who have a book inside them who want to get it out there, get out their message, then I think looking at your values and your why will hold you accountable to yourself, right?
Yes. Definitely.
Then, so we've covered two: being in a private group and having your own accountability system, which could also be, by the way, your exercise, things that you're holding, your little tiny habits that you're developing in your life as well, which will help you be a better writer. Then there's also the private group to keep going. That's a third kind of accountability, because there's always what you call, during the writing 6-week program, the messy middle, the times you fall behind. But then afterwards, my fifth step in the course is to keep going. And while not everyone wants to continue in an accountability group, they sometimes say, look, I've got other things to do now, but this was very valuable. I think that the private ongoing mastermind is a very good idea, so that we meet regularly and carry on with our writing journey. What do you think?
I absolutely do, and I think the messy middle we've referred to a few times, but one of my skills is helping people unravel the mess.
Exactly.
And I think that's where
the stuckness, where you feel I'm stuck and I'm giving up, because yet again I'm never going to finish this book. Because some people, and we won't mention any names, but now you can tell us about you, have had that book in their drawer for a long time.
Absolutely.
So it's an ongoing process.
Absolutely.
So that's the keep going. Ask for what you need as you keep going. And now I want to talk about I can't recommend a particular one, but a lot of people know about the annual November NaNoWriMo course, which is about...
I didn't know about this. You told me.
It's National Novel Writing Month. It started in 1999 with 22 people. There are now over 500,000, I think, who participate. Amazing. And the thing about the accountability is that you commit to writing 50,000 draft words of your novel. And it doesn't matter, which works out about 1,600 a day if you're going to pin it down to that. And everyone jumps on and shares what they're doing. And they say, no time to edit, no time to stop. You have to write those words. And out of it, if you look it up, you'll find that people do finish books. They do write their first drafts, and they find it very encouraging that from all over the world. And it might even be different this year, because I don't know if people used to meet in person as well at meetups, but so that's, I'm just giving that, and there probably are non-fiction groups like that, but I personally, I'll be honest, I don't particularly like to get it all out there. This is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm going. I'm a bit of an introvert when it comes to my writing. A small group suits me perfectly, a coach or mentor, and this brings us to the next one, which is the buddy. This is the fifth way of having accountability. It can be, if you're an EFT practitioner or you're in a modality, it can be a tapping buddy, or perhaps out of my group, we could find a writing buddy. One caveat is, don't make it someone close to you. Don't make it your sister or your mother or someone. It has to be a sort of neutral person who will support you in a one-on-one. And when you need, maybe every second week you do a swap, no matter even if you don't feel stuck, just to clear the blocks and keep the flow.
Yes, so and I think you've underplayed your own skill here, Carol. You might not like what I'm going to say, but there can be a touch of the strict headmistress about you. But you are very good because of that trait, because you're not always kind and cuddly and cozy, because you're like, so what have you done, Mary Jane, this week? There is a kind of sit up and like, okay, I've really got to get this done. And you don't take much nonsense. And I think that's important. Nice, cuddly, kind, cozy community is great, but it doesn't necessarily get stuff done.
I think that
you need someone who's a little bit strict. And I think you play that role really well. And I'm saying that with kindness.
No, I mean, Carl Dawson, when he was in South Africa, called me Auntie Carol, because I would say, Carl, you can't do that. You're in South Africa, you can't do that. He said, yes, Auntie Carol, because I have got this need to support people for their best interests. So,
exactly.
And that's,
but you push a bit, and you maybe a bit of stick, and I think that's really important. And I think actually we probably complement each other, because I'm probably fall more a bit into the kind cozy, and you're a bit more come on. So I think
okay, I wanted to just share as we go into the final point, which is what do you do when you get derailed? And, you know, your mother might be ill, you might get burnt out. There will possibly come a time, and it happens in the group or afterwards, where your book isn't getting written.
yes.
And I wanted to address that because you can maybe expect that. What do you do? I mean, I was using the analogy to myself earlier that you've fallen out of the saddle, and they
Yes.
say the best thing is to get back on. But in the interim, when you're feeling burnt out or stressed or otherwise occupied, it could be a time to just remember your self-care practices. As Julia Cameron says in The Artist's Way, have your artist date, perhaps even if you don't feel like writing, but maybe you will in your journal, and then, or get away from it altogether. Just, I myself have been away for 3 days, not very far from Cape Town, to Hermanus, where the whales, it's the whale birthing and breaching time. And although we went out in a boat and saw them up close and personal, it completely took my mind away from work and writing. But I also took 2 nonfiction books, completely books I wouldn't normally read or listen to. And I managed to finish both of them. We don't usually read nonfiction. So anyone who does have a lapse, it doesn't have to be. Another thing I did 2 years ago was to take a complete year off to paint. I just stopped my work and my writing, and I said, I'm having a 1-year sabbatical.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are options to don't throw the book in the bin. I don't know if you've heard Stephen King once threw his first book in the bin and his wife picked it up. And he then, you know, the rest is history. So rather put it in a drawer if you have to.
Yeah.
But Anne Lamott said that she, I don't know if you've heard of her, she wrote a book called Bird by Bird. And she said when she interviews people who come to her writing group, she says that time comes up, as they say, as soon as, it's a very common thing, as soon as my children leave home. She said, good luck with that. As soon as, and she said, some people, as soon as I'm retired. And she said, some of the people are 70, and she's saying, are you going to wait till you're 80? Do it now. She said, as is, rather than as soon as. So that's on the one side. And the other side is be gentle with yourself, what I've said. Give yourself a break if you need to. Maybe touch back in if you're in the accountability group. You know, you might have had to leave it for a few weeks.
Yes.
And so that will be the other side of accountability. Don't let it be such a stick is good from me in the group. But if you fall off the rails, get back on. And I think, Mary Jane, you were sharing with me, it's been a few weeks since.
Yes, so when we worked together, I had my plan, I'd written my introduction, I'd started writing, and then I was feeling pretty burnt out. So I didn't take September off, but I took a lot of time for me and self-care and focusing on other things that were important then. And the energies started to change, and I found myself at my computer a few days ago writing a chapter. So and whether that's because we're speaking each week, so I kind of feel a bit of a cat, but and it came from a place of really wanting to do it, not from a place of feeling I had to.
That's great. So we're looking forward to that, and I think we'll say that today's been a great. Or how should we end? We sort of say it's all about being accountable to yourself, to others, to a mentor, but above all to your muse, the muse that is saying to you, here's a book that only you can write. So go ahead and write it.
And to the people you're going to help, because if you don't write it, they're not going to get what they need.
Yeah. So thanks, Mary Jane. Till next week.
Lovely to see you, Carol.
We will keep on writing.